The media sector, the South African National Editors Forum, SANEF, is launching a relief fund for journalists who've lost their income due to COVID-19. SANEF says MTN has already contributed R500,000 to the fund. The fund is set up for freelance, contract or permanently employed journalists that have been retrenched or had their contracts cancelled since COVID-19 lockdown started. Joining me now is EWN Group Editor-in-Chief, Mahlatse Mahlase, who's also with SANEF. Thank you for joining me, Mahlatse. So it's been a bleak period, hasn't it, for journalists, not only for freelancers who have lost ability to work and contracts, etc., but even in mainstream established media. Give me a sense first then of what the situation is looking like in terms of job security and job losses in the media sector.
Thank you very much, Tulas. It has been quite devastating for hundreds of journalists when we released our report, and which was kind of an investigation done immediately after the lockdown regulations were imposed. We had found that as many as 700 journalists had lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. We know that magazines had to shut down. We also know that a lot of newspapers are not necessarily they're not being bought, so that has had an impact. Advertising revenue almost disappeared immediately as the lockdown was being announced, and journalists are struggling. They are suffering. Freelancers were the first to feel the brunt of it when media houses let them go, and then the small community newspapers just couldn't survive without any revenue coming in, and then it's just been devastation after devastation. But even those that are employed, Tulas, we know that there are many journalists currently working every single day, risking their lives to tell us the impact of COVID-19, but their salaries had to be reduced by as much as 40%. So really a grim picture for the industry, and quite sadly, because this is at the time when journalism is actually needed the most.
Yeah, talk to me about the fund then that you are launching as a part of a response to that situation. How do you envisage this fund working? Where will it pull its resources from? And what plans do you have in terms of it being sustainable and making an impact that people can feel?
Yeah, so when as we painted that grim picture, that bleak picture, MTN was one of the first corporates to come and say we can help, and they have put aside 500,000 to help out. This we envisage will help about 100 journalists, because we will be giving each at least 100 successful applicants 5,000 rands each. But also MTN is challenging other corporates in South Africa to say, can you also assist? We know that the economy is going through its toughest time, but if you are able to assist, can we help journalists that every single day make sure that the public's right to information is actually realized? But also we've been quite encouraged, since we launched the fund. We've had even ordinary South Africans coming forward and saying, how can we actually assist? So we've made available our banking details on the website, because we are hoping that South Africans will hear the cry of the journalists and actually assist, and that will help in trying to make it sustainable. As we've said, at the moment that 500,000 can only help about 100 journalists, but we know close to more than 700 journalists have actually lost their jobs, and this is not even counting those in the sector. At the moment, we are limiting 2 journalists that were in newsrooms as lockdown started and lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19 because of the limited resources. But we are hoping that South Africans will open their hearts and their pockets and help us to make this sustainable, because we're expecting that the situation will only worsen.
All right, Mahlatse, thank you for that. Mahlatse Mahlase there, who is the chairperson of SANEF, talking to us about the relief fund that they are launching and the appeal that they are making to corporate South Africa and ordinary citizens to make an intervention in this key area of our democracy to save jobs in journalism.